I know I'm incredibly late with this review, but Marvel already has a brand new series on Disney Plus with your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So I figured I would take the time to wrap up my thoughts on the season finale of Agatha All Along, which finally revealed what was at the end of the Witch's Road. Or did it? But all kidding aside, I thought the two-part finale was pretty good. They may not have blown me away by any means, but I thought they provided the overarching narrative with a somewhat satisfying conclusion. I mean, I liked how the episodes seemed to play around with the Marvel formula a bit, because the penultimate episode felt more like a typical finale that one would expect from a Marvel show, and the actual finale felt more like the penultimate episode of a Disney Plus series. By which I mean, episode 8 featured the final battle between Agatha and Rio, aka Death, which was a grand spectacle that involved plenty of punching and fighting and lasers being blown everywhere. Meanwhile, episode 9 was a far more introspective episode that provided us with some context about Agatha's actual character. So I enjoyed this little narrative switch up because it definitely messed with my own expectations of the show. But episode 8 still provided us with a fair amount of revelations. We learned that Rio is literally the idea of death incarnate, and that she actually guides people like Alice to the afterlife. We learned that Agatha was the one who bounded Jen from her magic. We learned that Billy found his brother's soul and placed it in the body of a drowning boy. We learned that people from Westview should definitely find a new place to live after dealing with 2 separate witch incidents in less than 3 years. And we learned that the Witch's Road never actually existed. Billy just manifested the road based on some of the objects in his room, which is definitely a Maximoff thing to do. But it does imply that Billy is responsible for the deaths of Alice, Lilia, and Sharon, and I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that. But I don't think the show wants me to think about it, since the final episode reveals that Agatha has been murdering witches and stealing their powers for centuries by conning them into believing the promise of the Witch's Road. So does the show want me to believe that it's okay for Billy to have accidentally killed a few people because Agatha was just going to kill them all on purpose anyway? I don't know, but it feels like that's what the show wants me to believe. I mean, showrunner Jack Schaefer has admitted that she likes playing around with hero and villain tropes. I just don't think she really subverted any expectations, because at no point did I ever view Agatha as a hero. And I don't care how people try to justify her murdering, she's still a villain through and through. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved getting to learn more about her character. Seeing Agatha's motherly side was definitely one of the more fascinating parts about the finale, but getting to learn more about a villain doesn't make me think of them as any less than a villain. Take the Penguin, for example. As much as I like Oswald Cobb and can even empathize with his character, there's no doubt in my mind that he is clearly a bad fucking guy. Now, is Agatha as much of a villain as the Penguin is? Probably not. Do I feel bad that she lost her son while he was still really young? Obviously. But do I think it was okay for her to spend literal centuries killing innocent witches out of her grief? Of course not. No matter which way you want to put it, that still makes her a murderer. She still actively chose to deceive and kill people, and that's pretty fucked up if you ask me. But she's dead now, so whatever, I guess. Yeah, she died during her little battle with Rio, so now she's just a ghost. A ghost that is basically haunting Billy because she's afraid to face her son in the afterlife. And you know what? I don't hate that concept. I like the idea of keeping Agatha around as a ghost, especially if she has unfinished business to attend to. I just wish that the show ended on a more conclusive note. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the ghostly adventures of Agatha and Billy, especially since they're going to set out to find his brother Tommy. I just feel like that story is more about Billy and less about Agatha herself. Also, I think it would have been nice to learn more about the character of Death, because we've already established that there is more than one afterlife in the MCU, so does Death take your soul to one afterlife in particular? Or how does that even work? Does she guide your soul to whatever afterlife you believe in, or does she only appear if you already believe in her? I mean, plenty of characters have died and come back before, not to mention that one time Thanos killed half of the entire universe, and nobody ever mentioned seeing a witch before, so I'm just curious to know how her powers work. Still, I did enjoy what was in the series itself. I just wish some of the concepts and characters were explored a bit more deeply is all. Also, I was surprised to see that Mephisto didn't show up in any way, shape, or form, especially considering how popular the character was during Schaefer's work on WandaVision. I was surprised that Ralph Bohner wasn't revealed to be from an alternate universe from some kind, especially since we are still in Marvel's multiversal saga, and I was ultimately surprised by the general lack of Vision. But he's getting his own series now, so hopefully we'll get to see more of him rather soon. Regardless, I have to admit that I did enjoy this series overall, which means that Agatha all along would get a surprising recommendation from me. And I appreciate anyone who took the time to hear my full thoughts on this series, so as always, thanks for watching.